Welcome back to Ghost Prime Transformers Reviews. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the Amazon exclusive 2-pack of the Coneheads Seekers, Dirge and Ramjet. These guys were recently released. They had just come out and should be arriving to your houses very soon if you pre-ordered them. I do believe they're out of stock on Amazon. Now, they've been the subject of a lot of issues, both QC issues and how Amazon themselves have shipped these things. So a lot of people have reported that they have gotten their boxes actually just labels on the actual box of these guys themselves and shipped that way. Some have said that they come and arrived in an Amazon box if they check the box. I know someone personally who have checked that box to actually package it in another box, and it arrived still with the stickers, the labels on the outside of the packaging, not in a separate box. Myself, I was lucky and I got them in a Hasbro box. They came in a brown Hasbro box with the 2-pack Seeker logo and Hasbro logo on it. Now inside, I did have some QC issues. Those I will get to in the review. This guy had a couple little things where I couldn't actually transform him at first. And I will go over that in the review. These guys are highly anticipated, and they are in the absence of thrust. Now, I'm sure we will get a thrust sometimes. We've seen them on package art, and we've seen, I think there was a leak for it recently. However, these come in the 2-pack. How is thrust going to be packaged? That's what it begs to reason. That's what I'm wondering. Will thrust be a Generation Selects exclusive? Will we get it on the Transformers Tuesday? Will it come out in a whole another time? Hasbro is holding some of these things tightly close to their chest. However, these are pretty decent upgrades to the Classics molds. Now, they do come with a couple retools. Not only the head is a brand new head, and the chest piece is different than the other Earthrise Seekers we have gotten. It is a completely new piece. This here little piece around the waist here, I do wish they had retooled a bit because of where the knees sit on them, which I'll get to a little bit in the review. However, they do come with also retooled knees, shins, of course the wings on both of them, and they are painted. They have a pretty decent amount of paint on them. Some of the color breakups are a little different, and this guy has a friggin' screaming face. I wish his face was not screaming. That's one thing that always bothers me. Same with Skywarp. They have these screaming faces, and it looks pretty terrible. Now, however, his face is not. He has more of a stoic-looking face with some sort of expression on it. I'll see if I can get the camera close up to show you guys that. So without any further ado, let's get to the review. And as we always do, let's start off with a look at the packaging. Now, again, like I said, I was lucky and I didn't have any stickers on this at all, so the packaging is very nice. It has this wonderful image on the front here of both Dirge and Ramjet flying through the air. And you actually, if you look right here, there's Thrust flying in the background. So definitely going to get him. It shows the arc. Lasers coming this way, that way, around. You got the Earthrise art on the side here. On the back, you have these standard alt mode and robot mode depictions. The top, Decepticon logo. Transformers were for Cybertron Trilogy. And the bottom, and that's it for the box. Now, I was one of the lucky ones, and mine was shipped in this box. Let's put it sideways so I can actually get it in frame. So this is what mine came in. It has the Earthrise Seeker 2-pack right here. And the product number with Hasbro. It was not shipped in an Amazon box. It was shipped in this. The labels are on the other side. Inside the packaging, you do get the instructions, which are done in the normal Earthrise colorations, and very clear images on how to transform these guys. Let's see if I can get that in a little bit better focus there. So the transformation is relatively similar to the other Seekers that we know and love. It is not a whole lot different. We get a decoder and a map piece. Now this map piece does not have any planets on it, but it does have one of those chains. And this is the type of chain it depicts. And of course you have both Ramjet and Dirge themselves in the packaging, complete with their null rays, and they are packaged in robot mode. So just a quick look at these guys. Let's get up close with Ramjet here. Get him in focus. Focus. As you can see, he sports a brand new head sculpt. He has nice shiny paint on the face with some red eyes. And I think it looks all right. He's got a weird expression. I'm glad it's not a screaming one. But as I mentioned earlier, they do have a retooled chest piece here. This is all a new piece right here, and it is painted right here. As you could tell, it is a little thin looking, but it's painted. It doesn't look so bad in person. The waist piece is the same, and if going down, you do have a new shin piece with the knee guards, just like in the cartoon and on the masterpiece. So turning them around, you can see how the little sections, the top front sections of the wing attach where the Earthrise Seeker's attached. I almost said classics. And then you can see how these wings right here, which are on a hinge, look, and they have Decepticon logos on either side and are very nicely detailed. They are painted. This whole thing is painted. If you see in there, it's actually molded in black. And so that's like that. It's like that for both of them. Let's take a look at Dirge here. So Dirge's face, you get in close up, is a derpy yell. It looks pretty terrible in my opinion. I don't know. He looks like he's surprised or trying to act surprised, but he didn't quite make it. It doesn't look like he's screaming in battle or anything. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it, especially like if you look right there, you just are like, oh, yeah, like whoa. But yeah, I don't know. It's just I'm not care for it that much. As you can see here, he has the same chest piece. Of course, he is not painted. It's done in completely black. Now this is actually a really deep black. In person, that loses a lot of the details. It show up in the light. But it's really a deep, deep black color. Going down, one of my favorite parts is his knee guards. His knee guards are done in the purple, the red, and the gold, and the white. And they look beautiful there. Coming back around, this is something that I want to point out that happened on mine. And I want you to look at yours right out of the package. As you can see, right down here, there's the little hinge piece. I'm missing the top one. Now on the other side, as you can see the other side, they are both in there. So yeah, and these are also painted. So it's paint, and then there's some Decepticon logos of paint on black plastic, and I think that's maybe one of the reasons. They are fairly tight in there. So, but there's the top detail. Now one thing I wanted to go over is with this is tight, even though it doesn't have that. It doesn't come off. It's not even loose actually. So it's not the end of the world. Now, one of the things that happened on mine, one of the other QC issues, I don't know if you could tell, right there, get that in close, I had to file that down. It was almost mushroomed on the top to where it wouldn't fit in the hole there when to transform it. So I could not transform this guy right out of the box. I had to file that peg down. So your experience may vary with these guys. And that's kind of a bummer. It really is kind of a bummer. So there's something to look out for on these guys. So articulation-wise, they're pretty much exactly the same as Starscream and the other Seekers. On the head, it is 360, and you do get a little bit of an up. No down, just an up, but it is on a ball joint, so you're a little bit side to side. It's kind of like a new thing there, and while this isn't new, these don't snap. These are just hinges. Mine are a little bit loose, which is not that way on Ramjet, but it doesn't hurt anything. It doesn't hurt transformation. They're just a little loose. But that's, again, not too bad. Some of the joints are very, very tight, and my swivel arm, like right here, I really feel like I'm going to break them if I'm trying to swivel, especially this arm. I really feel like I'm like swivel, the bicep swivel, it really feels like it's going to break. It's super, super tight. So far, so good. So first, to compare him, all right, first up, let's compare him to his Classics version. Of course, he gains a lot of size in the Classics version. The head does appear a little small on this guy, partly because the head does go, in fact, go into the cockpit, larger cockpit that is on the back, where his is the entire front of the nose on the Classics version. He does not, have, the Classics version doesn't have the longer shins here, and all the colors are gray and white and gold, where this one's gold and white and black. The cockpit is orange, like is shown in the cartoon, and on some examples of the G1, but not all. Some of the rare examples will have an orange cockpit. And also on the box art for the G1, his is instead gray. Now, if you notice here, he does have part of the cockpit there painted, as to where these are left unpainted. So it gives it more of a clean look. I actually like that look in robot mode, but in jet mode, I think I would prefer to see the little bit of the paint. It's a personal preference. There's a lot more colors going on the Classics version on the chest than there is on the Earthrise version. And as you can see, the wings are painted entirely differently. There's the back. And just a quick comparison with the Generation 1 version. We're seeing the darker blacks, we have the brighter whites. So it's really based more on the G1 than it is on the Classics, even though the Classics share some engineering. On the back, you have, just to point out, I would like to see some Toy Hacks labels for this guy, because I do like those blue lines. And there they are together. And he shares most of the same colorations with the Masterpiece version. So here he is side by side with the Masterpiece. He retains a lot of that, the minimalist coloration of the Masterpiece, even with the knee guards. Up here in the intakes are the same basic sort of gunmetal silver on the face. He does not have the black hands, but overall, it's a very similar red color on the maroon color on the wings. He definitely takes a lot more cues from the Masterpiece than any of the other versions of this figure. Again, the Masterpiece does not have the blue lines on it. Masterpiece has white here on these wings, and there's white there on those wings. So it's very, very much takes after the Masterpiece version instead of the Classics or even the Generation 1 version with the white here. Well, there's a lot of similarities. Last but not least, here he is with Starscream. All right, now moving on to Dirge. So some quick comparisons with Dirge. Here he is with the original Classics Dirge. Again, same things as Ramjet. But so these wings are immovable. Here you cannot move them. They just stay straight out, stick straight out, which I'm glad you could actually move these to the back on this guy. Colorations are a bit different. You lose the Decepticon logo in the center, which is something I like. The cockpit paint is still present there. He has a lighter color face. Turn around to the back. Now he does not have any of these red and white lines at all. These point down just because of transformation. I mean, you can point these down like I showed earlier. You can just go do that if that's what you desire. But they go up like this. And again, much taller. And here he is with the Generation 1 Dirge. So he definitely has a closer blue. A lot more black shows up. And overall, you can see where the similarities go. And here he is with the Masterpiece version. So as you can see, the Masterpiece has a bunch of gray on him where he has some black. The knees are fairly the same. Wherever there's gray on this, there's black on this. And if you can see turn them around here, the Masterpiece has these weird area of the wings, and that doesn't lock in place, so it's always been irritating. The gray area here, very plain looking. Same with there. However, I do wish he had the different null rays. So I'm not going to go over articulation with these guys because I already have, or transformation. One thing I will show you, a couple things with transformation, is this is on a hinge, and this hinges down like so and snaps, and that's really the main differences. There really isn't many differences besides the head, of course, and the head, basically, if you look, will just kind of go directly in like that. You've got to be careful getting it in there. It actually fits beautifully, but you don't want to scrape it. There's plenty of room. This is paint up here, and there's plenty of room to scrape that on the top when you're trying to transform it. So I'll be right back with the transform modes. All right, and here these guys are all done up in their alt modes. So let's take a look at Ramjet first. Ramjet has some really nice paint on this. This paint here is really, really nice. It will be prone to scratching for sure. And then there's some, so we get that in focus. So you see some paint apps right here on the tail, Septagon logo. These pieces fit together really nicely, nice and snug. The cockpit. See, I really would have liked these painted like it is on Starscream. It would have just been a lot nicer in my opinion. Otherwise, it's pretty nice. Now, one thing to note is that the blast effects do not fit in his engines. There's no spot for them. But there are ports that show up the same as on Starscream. Also under the wings. One more thing I would like to say about both of them is that when you have them like this, you see they balance on the knees. It's not so much of a problem here or when on a soft surface, but you almost have to have them on a stand or something because it will over time scrape. As you can see, it sort of rocks. That is an oversight. It would be nice to have some type of landing gear so it's firm, but it's really not solid. It's like that way with both of them. Taking a look at Dirge here, let's take a look at these the wings. Get this in focus, and a lot of nice detail comes up on them. I wish the paint was a little bit more gold, a little more reflective, but he's got a nice, beautiful blue color to him. All the same ports. See, now this is where I'm talking about this paint here on the knees. It would just be really nice to have something that actually elevated that up off anything it's sitting on. Again, I would like to see some more cockpit paint up here. Overall, though, they look really nice in jet mode, and they definitely look nice together. So let's take a quick look at them with the Earthrise. Starscream. Now, as you can tell, Starscream does have the paint around the cockpit, which stands out nice. These, I wish they had it. Otherwise, let's see, here's the wingspans. Fairly similar. His wingspan is a little smaller, not by a lot sleeker looking as he should. Get into some individual comparisons. Here is Dirge with the Classics version. Again, the Classics version has landing gear. Well, he does not. But there they are together. Close up here. So one thing to note, if you look at the front of each one, see how the back wings are bent here instead of having the rudders on the back? It's an interesting difference. And the blues, of course. And here he is with the Generation 1. Of course, he is missing a Decepticon logo on the nose. And some other details like the red, but that might be too more cartoony sort of style. Now let's take a look at Ramjet and his classics counterpart. Now this one is very different. So as you see here, he has some very nice detailing on him, but this one has a ton more paintwork to it. Some different design. Now, of course, this is classic, so this is definitely not from any other media. It was just sort of a design that has been put on it. I think it looks pretty good. This one's definitely more cartoon accurate. He does not, of course, have these big missiles. He has the null ray type instead. And again, no landing gear. Hey, here he is with his Generation 1 counterpart. I would like to see the blue that like it is on here. It would be very nice to have that blue on there, on these wings. Although the red color's fairly similar. This one's a little darker. Orange cockpit versus the sort of smoky color. But that is a... This one did have an orange. That's a conversation for another day. Just Dirge back in here. One final look at these two together in jet mode before we move on to the final thoughts. So in conclusion, these two are kind of a must-have, even with their flaws. Despite some of the flaws on them, they're still very nice figures and fit in wonderfully in your Decepticon ranks. Even despite some of the issues, I do wish there was a separate head for this. There's just no way to actually switch it out unless you get another one of these, or maybe Ramjet's head, repaint it and put it back on so you don't get the screaming face. It's really the only thing you could do. I hope everyone out there gets some decent quality versions of these. The QC has been all over the place from what I've been seeing, so that's a bummer. But I do like the figures, and they are very needed in the ranks of Decepticons, and they look wonderful with everyone standing next to each other. There's a lot of detail on them, despite the flaws, and I do think that they are worthy to pick up if you haven't already. Some of the things I would like to see upgraded on them. I would like to see weapons that actually reflect their toy modes. I know in the cartoon they did have these weapons, the regular null rays, but I would like to see the larger, the thinner null ray type weapon on this, and the big, huge, rounded missile type weapon on him. Those things I think would they differentiate these Coneheads a lot from the actual regular Seekers, so I like that. It's something I've always liked on them. Other than that, those are minor nitpicks. The issue with the tab on his legs that I had to file down in order to get this guy in plane mode or in jet mode actually really bothered me. And the fact that out of the box, this peg was broken. That's another thing that bothered me. Otherwise, they're fairly solid, despite a couple little mold problems. So please, if you found this video useful or you like this video, hit that thumbs up button. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't, the down button if you have to. And I'll see you next time.